Hey, welcome to my channel. So this particular video is just about your taxes for the year 2020, and I'm going to get straight to it. I have to be honest with you, I'm not a tax professional and I'm not a tax advisor. I'm just the guy that likes to go through those details to understand my finances, and I try to share it through my channel. So if you find good information here and you find value in my videos, please kindly hit the thumbs up, like the video, and subscribe to my channel for more content like this one. So for this video, I will be going over the tax guidelines for the year 2020. The document just got published yesterday and I went through it today, and I'm going to be sharing my screen with you in a few minutes just so that we could actually see the document the way it was written. I'm not a tax professional, so I'm just going to be showing you some of the highlights and some of the things that I feel might apply to a majority of people, especially within my age group or a bit younger or just a bit older as well. If you need more guidelines to or to understand the documents better, I'm going to leave a link below in my channel so that you could take a look at it yourself and probably read it more and understand it better for yourself. So this is the guideline for your tax year of 2019, and this was just released yesterday. Well, as at the recording of this video, was January 8th, 2020. If you want to read this document by yourself, it's in the link below so you can check it out so that you can actually get into the details. But I'm not going to go into the details because this document it's lots of pages. I can go all the way, it's about 108 pages. So yeah, I won't be going into the details. I'm just going to be covering some of the important areas that I've highlighted because I've gone through this document today just because this is what this channel is all about. Try to educate people, educate myself, and obviously when it comes to finances, that's my area of interest. So taxes is one of them as well. So you better pay more attention to your taxes if you want to also help, if you want to improve your finances, if that makes sense. But yeah, let's get to it. So what's new on page 6? One of the things that I've noticed here, just by reading through this, I've highlighted it already. The standard deduction amount increased, and it says here for 2019, the standard deduction amount has been increased for all filers. The amounts are for single or married filing separately, it's about 12,200, and married filing jointly or qualifying widower or widow is 24,400, and head of household is about 18,350. Obviously, it talks about qualified business income deductions. And again, if it applies to you, that might be the case. And also, this one too, I find important to people it might apply to. So that has changed as well. So if you want to just pause the video to read this, you can do that. But if it doesn't apply to you, I'm going to move on to the next thing. For the virtual currency, if you have traded cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and all those things, you might need to pay attention to this section because this would apply to you. You would have to actually submit a form and show, well, pretty much pay your taxes. All right, let's move on here. I'm moving on to the next other pages that I highlighted. How would to file, or what it says. If you have to determine, if you want to determine if you have to file, then there's a chart in this manual that shows you how to determine that, which we're going to get to that because I don't want to keep going back and forth. So I'm just going to continue for now. But generally, it says U.S. citizens who lived or had income from a U.S. possession should, see publication 570, residents of Puerto Rico as well should use this tax topic to now want to see if they must file. But here's the key thing. It says even if you do not otherwise have to file a return, you should file one to get a refund of any federal income tax withheld. You also should file if you are eligible for any of the following credits: hand income credit, additional tax credit, American Opportunity Credit, credit for federal tax on fuels, premium tax credit, health coverage tax credit. If this applies to you, you probably want to check this out more. So I'm going to move on to the next. Obviously, we all know the deadline to file for our taxes for the year 2020 is April 15, 2020. You don't want to miss that date because if you do, it says it here. You can get an automatic 6-month extension If no later than the date your return is due, you file for the Form 4868. For details, you can check that out. And it says here, an automatic 6-month extension to file doesn't extend time to pay your tax. If you don't pay your tax by the original due date of your return, you will owe interest on the unpaid tax and may owe penalties. You don't want to do that, so make sure you try to pay your taxes on time. Don't be late either. So remember the chart here. Let me go back up a little bit. It tells us here that do you have to file? It says use chart A, B, or C to see if you must file a return. And this is the chart. And it says for most people, this is what will apply. If your filing status is single and at the end of 2019 you were under 65 or 65 or older, then file a return if your gross income was at least this amount. If you're married, filing jointly under 65, both spouses, and pretty much you just have to go through it. I don't want to read all this because it's going to take a lot of time. But they define what gross income means, and it says it means all income you received in the form of money, goods, property, and services that isn't exempt from tax, including any income from sources outside the United States or from the sale of your main home if you can exclude part or all of it. Don't include any Social Security benefits unless you're married, filing a separate return, and you lived with your spouse at any time in 2019. Again, it lists everything in here. I'm not going to read it all, but that's just the definition of gross income. So, which I believe will apply to most people. And it says here, Chart B for children and other dependents. It explains that section as well. Again, if you're interested, you can always pause the video so that you can read it more. And that's why I'm just showing the screen. And also, I'm going to link the document in the section below. Other situations when you must file. And I feel like this would apply to most people. All right. And it says here, you had net earnings from self-employment of at least $400. And 4, it says you had wages of 108 and 28 cents, a point 28 cents or more from a church or qualified church-controlled organization that is exempt from employer Social Security and Medicare taxes. So again, that might apply to majority of people, so you must file as well. All right, these are the instructions, and it tells you what form to file. And it says everyone can file Form 1040. Form 1040 for the senior citizens or senior groups is available to you if you were born before January 2, 1955. So you'll be classified as senior. All right. All right. Filing status that are available to us as US citizens. It says it here, filing. The ones that will usually give you the lowest tax are listed last. So this will give you the lowest tax. So the first one, married, filing separately. Then single, those two are taxed at higher rates. Household, married, filing jointly, and qualifying widow are taxed at a lower rate. So you have to keep that in mind when choosing the status. And this, I believe, can really be a big deal for married couples that are filing separately. But again, you just have to look at your situation to determine what is best for you. But I highlighted something here. It says here, a married couple filing jointly report their combined income and deduct their combined allowable expenses on one return. That is if you're filing as joint couple. And it says if you file a joint return, both you and your spouse are generally responsible for the tax and interest or penalties due on the return. This means that if one spouse doesn't pay the tax due, the other may have to. Or if one spouse doesn't report the correct tax, both spouses may be responsible for any additional taxes assessed by the IRS. You may want to file separately if you believe your spouse isn't reporting all of his or our income, or you don't want to be responsible for any taxes due if your spouse doesn't have enough tax withheld or doesn't pay enough estimated tax. So keep that in mind when you're choosing your status to file. All right. Non-resident aliens and dual status aliens. I feel like this might be useful for people that are yet to be U.S. citizens or residents and all that. You might want to pay attention to this area. You can pause the video to read it yourself, but that's something there for you as well. And it says for married filing separately. I highlighted a bunch more here. If you're married and file a separate return, you generally report only your own income, deductions, and credits. Generally, you are responsible only for the tax on your income. Different rules apply to people in community property states. However, usually will pay more tax than if you use another filing status for which you qualify. Also, if you file a separate return, you can't take the student loan interest deduction, the tuition and fees deduction, the education credits, or the earned income credit. You also can't take the standard deduction if your spouse itemizes deductions. So the most restrictive status that you can file under, all right, is if you're filing married, filing separately under that status. That is the most restrictive to be honest. Followed by single, followed by married, filing jointly. I'm sorry, followed by head of household, followed by married, filing jointly. All right. It basically defines, what will qualify as a dependent. I'm not going to go that much into that. Keeping up a home. To find out what is included in the cost of keeping up a home, there's a publication 501. Again, this is all on the IRS website. It's just all about digging through it if you want to find some of these documents or publications. But I'm not going to be going to that because it's going to really go out of my range and time for this video. Married persons who live apart, says even if you weren't divorced or legally separated at the end of 2019, you're considered unmarried if all of the following apply. So you can pause the video here to read all this for yourself. But key things that I highlighted here: you lived apart from your spouse for at least 6 months of 2019, you filed a separate return from your spouse, you paid half the cost of keeping up your home for 2019. All right, and there's about 2 points more that I didn't really apply. I didn't really underline because again, it might not apply to most people. But if it does apply to you, keep that in mind. All right, qualifying widower, that applies to any of, or widower, that applies to anybody. I'm gonna keep moving on here, and this one here, if you are a non-resident or resident alien and you don't have and aren't eligible to get a Social Security, you must apply for an ITIN. It takes about 7 weeks to get an ITIN. So if you apply now in January, you still have a lot of time to get your number before the due date of April 15, 2020. So keep that in mind. Sometimes it has to be renewed, so keep that in mind as well. All right. Let me move on to the next thing that I noticed. If your spouse is a non-resident alien, he or she must have either an Social Security number or an ITIN if you file a joint return or your spouse is filing a separate return. Again, for the immigrants or people that are foreigners and not citizens, keep that in mind, and you might need to file as a joint or separately with an ITIN number or Social Security number. All right, do you have a qualifying child? And it tells you exactly what the qualifying child is. So again, you might just have to go through this yourself. I'm not going to be spending time through this because this is just basic yes or no, and you just kind of go through the guidelines like that all the way down. But let me move on to what is more important. You guys will just have to bear with me because if I try to go through each area, it's going to take a very long time and it's a lot. The income definition says generally you must report all income except income that is exempt from tax by law. And you have here some other sources, and it's a foreign source income, foreign retirement plans, a lot of things like that. Bankruptcy, if that applies to you, this is a section that you might want to pay attention to. There's a section, let me see what I have here. Foreign accounts and trusts, wages, salaries, and tips. So here is kind of important for most people. It says enter the total of your wages, salary, tips, etc. If a joint return also include your spouse's income. And it says an employer isn't required to provide a Form W-2 to you if he or she paid your wages of less than, not then, they made a mistake, 2100 in 2019. If you receive wages as a household employee and you didn't receive a Form W-2 because an employer paid you less than 2100 in 2019, enter HSH. So again, that is if you're doing this. But the good thing is if you're using things like TurboTax to file for your return, this guide you won't have to know all these details because TurboTax will guide you through the process. You just have to put in, the right answers. All right. For the guys that get tips, it says your tip income didn't report to your employer must be reported to the IRS, pretty much. All right. So you must report that. Let's move on here. I'm trying to find tax exempt interest. This is important for guys that invest. All right. So it says if you received any tax exempt interest, including any tax exempt original issue discount, such as from municipal bonds, each payer should send you a Form 1099 interest. It's just a form, or a Form 1099 OID, which is original issue discount form. And again, you just have to get information, and on the form, once you get it, it actually tells you how to input it into your tax return document, the Form 1040 itself, or the 1040 SR, which is the form that is sent to the IRS detailing your income information, your investment information, your discounts, and your what do you call it? What's the word for it now? Your deductions. I'm sorry. Yeah, deductions. All right, and those things will be reflected in that form to the IRS. All right. Now you have qualified dividends again for guys that invest and get dividends. You would get a Form 1099 DIV. Now the thing is, as you're getting all these forms, you want to start filing them right away. When I mean filing them, you want to put them in a place that you can reference them easily. So if you can open up a small file or a table file or like a folder where you can keep these documents safely so that you can reference them once you start to submit your once you start filing for your taxes. That will be the best thing you can do. So very soon you start getting these things in your mail at home or in your information. If you do like electronic documents, you start getting those things, and you want to start saving them in a safe place. And that is the way you can prepare yourself for this tax season without losing any vital information and making sure your taxes are filed correctly. All right. Ordinary dividends, it says you must fill in an attached Schedule B if the total is over 1,500 or you received as a nominee ordinary dividends that actually belong to someone else. Again, this is going to be reflected through that form. So let me move on to the next important things. It says, let me see. If you do rollovers, any form of transactions that is done under your name, pretty much you will under your name or your social security, you will get some form of form. There's so many forms out there depending on the transactions you make. Okay, so these forms will be sent to you, and it's now up to you to file them and report them. If you don't report them, the IRS is going to find out. They might not come after you now, but they will eventually catch up to you. The government likes taking its money. So keep that in mind. Rollovers. It says generally a rollover is a tax-free distribution of cash or asset from one retirement plan that is attributed or contributed to another plan within 60 days of receipt. However, a rollover to a Roth IRA or a designated Roth account is generally not a tax-free distribution. And this section focuses on, it says qualifying. It says to be a qualifying child for the child tax credit, the child must be your dependent under age 17 at the end of 2019 and meet all the conditions in steps 1 through 3 under who qualifies as your dependent. Make sure you checked the child tax credit box in column 4. This is just telling you how to fill this out again, and like I said, as long as you follow the prompts properly, like if you're using TurboTax, a tax advisor or professional, they'll be able to guide you through this process much easily. But they are pretty easy and it's almost straightforward, just using reading and saying what it means. But obviously you won't be using a form. I would hope you're not using a form to do your taxes, because that will be much more complicated and can be confusing at times. All right. Payments. This is how you're gonna get paid. Hand income credit. Um, I didn't really see much that applies to most people, but it could apply to you. So if you want to read it, kindly check it out. This is for the US military. Thanks for your service, you guys that are doing this. Um, but some things are applied to you guys, which I believe most of you already know. But if you want to read this section, kindly check it out. I won't be going into details because it doesn't really apply to me. For members of the military, if you were on extended active duty outside the United States, your main home is considered to be in the United States during that duty period. Extended active duty is military duty ordered for an active indefinite period or for a period of more than 90 days. Once you begin serving extended active duty, you are considered to be on extended active duty even if you don't serve more than 90 days. So if that applies to you, here you qualified as a student. A student is a child who, during any part of 5 calendar months of 2019, was enrolled as a full-time student at a school or took a full-time on-farm training course given by a school or a state, country, or local government agency. A school includes a technical, trade, or mechanical school. It doesn't include an on-the-job training course, correspondence school, or school offering courses only through the internet, which is very strange because a lot of people do attend schools online. So I wonder why that doesn't apply. But anyway, it's in there. All right, this section just shows the forms again, explain how you fill it out and all that stuff. So I won't be going through that. The rest is just, how you can get your refund, how long it takes, why you should use a direct deposit, your IRA. It says you can have your refund directly deposit to a traditional IRA, a Roth IRA, a SEP IRA, but not a simple IRA. You must establish the IRA at a bank or other financial institution before you request direct deposit. If you're interested in that, you can always read more about it. So I'm going to go through all of this real quickly. Amount you owe. Hopefully, you don't owe any taxes, but if you do, it says it here. To avoid interest and penalties, pay your taxes in full by the due date of your return. April 15, 2020. For most taxpayers, you don't have to pay if line 23 is under $1. All right, and you can pay it online. Tells you how you can pay that. Again, this video is getting too long. I don't want it to be too long at all. I just want it to be something that will share quick information for you guys. Okay, determine how to determine your taxable income. So the table is there to kind of have an idea of what the taxable income would be. So it's a lot of tables as well. So I'm going to kind of scroll through that real quickly to make sure I'm not missing anything at the bottom. Let's see. All right. Taxable worksheet. How to avoid common mistakes. Innocent spouse relief. This is interesting because just in case you sincerely, you and your spouse sincerely made mistakes or something, there's a certain relief that is available to you. All right. You want to keep your records, your tax records for about 3 years. It says usually this is 3 years from the date the return was due or filed, or 2 years from the date the tax was paid, whichever is later. So you want to keep those documents just in case something comes up. All right. There's other topics that I did not mention here, I didn't cover, but if you're interested in this document, it's below. Check it out. I won't want to be going over all the stuff, to be honest, because it's quite a lot of information, and everybody's situation is different. So check it out, and hopefully you find something that you find the answers that you're looking for, because I'm sure you must have been looking for an answer to something for you to have clicked on this video. Again, it's just a lot of things to mention, to cover, and it's going to take hours and hours and hours, to go over this. But my goal is just to share this document with you, to let you know what is possible, and to let you know, get answers to some of this information. This is good. Student loan interest deduction, all right? Because we have a lot of people with student loans. So if you've paid some of your student loans in the year 2019, you might be able to get a break and get some of the interest take return as this, get a deduction on that, all right? If you've made qualified higher education expenses, tuition and fees, what else did I see here? Let me see. And I think that's it. I didn't really see anything else that was that stood out. So if you're interested in it, it's below again. Check it out. Let me know what you think. And I do want to thank you for watching this video. It's getting too long, and I'll see you in my next video. Thanks a lot. See you next time.